Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, key actors in the Bayelsa governorship race have one more day to wait as INEC reschedules elections in some parts of the state. Kogi supplementary polls holds as scheduled with impressive voter turnout, results anxiously awaited. And former President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife again experience initial failure of the card reader. Dr. Jonathan advises INEC to perfect the procedure. And US President Barack Obama says that America will not be cowed by terrorists as ISIS claims responsibility for the shootings in California. Also in business stories tonight, traders were disappointed this week as bullish outlook for the interbank market turns bearish. Also in sports, tonight, Nigeria's dream team qualifies for the Rio 2016 Olympics. Is still alive after reaching the semi-finals of the CAF Under-23 Championship. We'll begin tonight with the elections in Bayelsa State, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has rescheduled the elections in some parts of southern Ijaw local government area of the state till tomorrow, Sunday, December the 6th at 8 a.m. INEC's National Commissioner, Professor Mustapha Lekki, who made the announcement during a press briefing in Yenagoa, said the rescheduling became necessary due to the late arrival of materials in the affected areas. There were also reported some cases of pockets of violence in the southern Ijaw local government area earlier in the day.
Were occasioned by severe militant activities. As a result of these developments, and in working in conjunction with security agencies, our first concern was to take steps to stabilize the situation, to ensure the safety of electoral officials and the security of materials. Because of this development, deployment from Southern Ijaw local government area and RAT to PU, the polling units, especially to distant places, could not be undertaken in good time for accreditation and voting to commence and conclude. This situation has now been stabilized and we are therefore in a position now to continue voters accreditation and voting in affected areas, which will now commence at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning with the activation of all the relevant polling units in this affected area. It's possible that some vehicular movement may be restricted only in these affected areas, which is mostly in southern Ijaw and a few pockets of places. In the majority of other areas across the state, exercise has progressed reasonably well, and we look forward to concluding the entire process by tomorrow.
In the meantime, Governor Siraki Dixon and the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, was one of the early callers at his Sagbama 06 Ward 2, where he got accredited at 10:45 a.m. Although the smart card reader initially failed to recognize his fingerprints, he was eventually able to cast his vote after several attempts. Governor Dixon, however, said that he was unhappy with the slow pace of accreditation exercise.
Governor Siraki Dixon, who spoke with journalists immediately after casting his vote, expressed his displeasure with the violence that occurred in some local government areas in the state, calling on officers of the various security agents to be proactive in the protection of lives and property. He alleged that perpetrators of violence are known leaders of the opposition party in the state.
In spite of trials and in spite of assurances, you all saw that my fingerprint could not be recognized. So we have a serious problem as far as the use of these so-called smart card readers is concerned in this country. I hope that we don't continue to portray ourselves as an unserious and fraudulent country, manipulating anything and everything. It's unfortunate that fingerprint couldn't be recognized, same for my wife, same for my mother.
President of the Women Arise for Change initiative, Dr. Joe Okeodumaki, who is a domestic observer, condemned the shortcomings experienced with the smart card readers during the accreditation process and called for the prosecution of anyone involved in the reported cases of violence.
We've recorded pockets of violence. We've recorded loss of lives. But the message really is that no one must be above the law. Anyone found to have perpetrated the heinous acts that had led to the destruction of peace and colossal loss of lives and property must be brought to book. We want to appeal to people that as they continue to vote, we should help the process to get to a logical conclusion.
Aside the slow pace of accreditation, which eventually led to lateness in the commencement of the actual voting, other observers and voters are pleased with the process.
The first local government I went to, a little bit, the car reader has a problem, but instantly the state rec installed the problem instantly, so the former president was able to vote. But right now, I'm in the governor's place. The election is peaceful here.
The voting process has commenced and very peaceful because we believe that you don't win election through violence, so everybody has conducted themselves peacefully.
Having cast their votes, all that is left for the candidates and the electorates is to wait for the announcement of the results by the electoral umpire.
In the meantime, the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, Mr. Timothy Silva, also voted in his Dukaku Center polling station in Obuama Brass local government area. The card reader at first did not read the fingerprints of Mr. Silva until after several attempts. Well, shortly after voting, Mr. Silva expressed some concerns over what he called the breakdown of law and order in some parts of the state. We will, of course, try to bring you his comments on this as soon as we get them. Former President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife Patience Jonathan experienced a hitch at the polling unit in Otueke, Bayelsa State, as the card reader malfunctioned, just as it did during the presidential elections. INEC officials at Unit 039, Ward 13 in Ogbia local government area, exactly opposite his Otueke resident, returned with another card reader at about 10 a.m. before he was later accredited. The former president, in his reaction, from my experience today, INEC must resolve the card reader before we go into the 2019 elections, because before we went into the presidential elections, the machines rejected my card and my wife's. He also says that he's confident that the elections will bring forth a governor that will give the state good leadership, good covenant that will take everybody along. Well, latest reports coming in from Bayelsa State says that election materials have been fully distributed in Brass local government area. We also know that elections are right now being collated. The results are being collated. Let's quickly join our correspondent, Sean Okimba-Loye, who has been covering the elections for Channels Television in Bayelsa State. Let's get your thoughts very quickly, Sean. What more do we know at this point? We understand that the elections have been held and the collation is actually been done already, and there has been some pockets of violence there. What more do we know? If you can hear me, Cheryl, I'm just getting to get your thoughts and your views on, give us a sense of what is happening at the moment right now.
Thank you, Gimba. Tonight on the News at 10, I have joining me a National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mr. Mustafa Lekki. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10. He's going to be giving us some more stories on what has happened today. Let me first start by asking you, from your own standpoint and your commission standpoint, you've done a lot of preparations. How would you assess this exercise of today?
Well, the exercise of today didn't just start today. Like you rightly mentioned, there's a lot of preparation that went in place As at yesterday, we had mobilized both men and resources. If you understand the schedule of deployment of resources, these resources, both men and material, had been moved, taken to the local government area, which is the first port of call. And from there, they go to the RAG, which is the registration area centers. And then, today, they should move from there. Today, the day of the election, they should move from the RAG to the polling units and voting point. So yesterday, we successfully, without fail, moved both men and material to the local government area, escorted by police with integrity, and they were all there, and the RAGs were done as at last night. So this morning, 6 a.m., materials and staff, electoral officials were moving to the polling units, and we went around to see, and I would say over 80-85% of those polling unit voting points were successfully activated. Okay, so they were activated. In most cases, people were not there. I went to a number of them, including the former president, Otoeke, front of his house. I went there. So people were very slow, at coming out. There were a few H's with the card reader, but because we had backup, they were immediately and quickly substituted so that they could go on using them.
Well, would you say that your plans actually come out 100% just as you've scheduled them?
No, I would not say 100%, because we see once a card reader does not work, you have to substitute. People begin to say, oh, there was a delay and there are itches and stuff like that. So we won't say 100%. But I would say because we anticipated that was going to happen, and we had a backup system, so we didn't have a problem where we had to resort to not using the card reader. The card reader were used everywhere, so that is a success. Even though they may have been able to read the cards, and then you may not be able to authenticate with your fingerprint, then use the incident form. So the plans worked as planned.
All right, before we go into the incident that brought about the press conference, which you addressed earlier today, a lot of people will think that we used the card readers during the 2015 general elections. We used it in Kogi elections. Should we be experiencing those kind of hitches that we saw in the usage of the card readers this time around?
Well, I would think we have not done a statistical analysis in terms of the proportion of the failure rate, if you call it a failure rate. We have not done that. That is a matter of research that will still happen. But I think there's been significant improvement. For one thing, there was very little delay. I mean, it's a machine. It's a man-made machine. Even sometimes your cell phone will go into a state of lock, and then you have to reboot it so that you can get it working again. So what we did is that I would say that our arrangement to ensure immediate prompt substitution with another card reader works very well. So there was no situation whereby the substitute card reader was in place did not work. So they work. And these are lessons learned from what happened in both 2015 election and the Kogi election.
Mr. Lekki, tell me, this evening you addressed a press conference where you told the whole world that the Bayelsa election will not be concluded today, but it will continue tomorrow, which of course a lot of people are anticipating that the election will go on, and we probably might be having an idea of what the result is. Generally, a lot of people will be thinking that most areas that this election will continue tomorrow, will reschedule tomorrow. Are they aware? Do you think they will be able to come out tomorrow?
Well, I want to believe that they will come out tomorrow because people were quite enthusiastic about coming out to vote, and so they're also very curious. Wanted to exercise their voting rights, and also because this matter happened fairly late, we deployed the media, we have people who are on ground, we have political parties who are also responsible in mobilizing their supporters to ensure they come out for vote. So they were a part of the decision making, even at that level, whether or not we have enough time to still start very late and do something that is credible, that has integrity. So they were part of decision making that we should continue tomorrow. So I expect that they will do the needful and contact their supporters, get the words out. We had a very successful press briefing this evening at about 7 or so on, and I can see that some radio stations and television are already running scroll and the messages that we are continuing tomorrow, and they're indicating the areas in which the continuation exercise will continue tomorrow. We have the people who are working with all the forces that are also ready. So I think everybody knows just need to get the word out that we're continuing these places tomorrow.
Is INEC surprised that the situation in Southern Ijaw happened the way it went today?
Yes, INEC does not condone, does not welcome, would not want any form of violence. Okay, and we are working with law enforcement agencies, the police, the army, so the integrated law enforcement agency apparatus, that we have in place. The platform is quite solid. But at the same time, we want to be cautious. Even though there's enough force on ground, doesn't mean you should go out shooting your way through just to make sure an election takes place. These are Nigerians. So we have to exercise caution, make sure we stabilize the position, stabilize the situation, protect lives, including lives of voters, not just the lives of INEC officials and others who are participating, before we go out and say, well, that if in doing that, we now eat into the time schedule to do it, so be it. Because it's very important that the people's lives and what they are maintained before we go on. So in terms of being surprised, yes, because INEC does not want violence. And so we are surprised. We expect that people will behave. We expect that political parties will have educated their members. There was a peace pact that was signed onto, a pact that there will be law and order. You will obey the rules and regulations. That was reaffirmed again in the stakeholder meeting that took place just this last Tuesday. So we're definitely surprised. Right. And we don't like this thing happening. We want it to stop for good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lekki. So we know that tomorrow, what happened today will not happen tomorrow, isn't it? Is that what they are promising us?
By the grace of God, it will not happen tomorrow. We will not have an inconclusive election tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Mr. Lekki, for talking to us. Mr. Mustafa Lekki, National Commissioner of INEC, talking to us on the update of what exactly went down today in Bayelsa State. So it's back to you in the studio, Gimba.
Brilliant, Joe. We do appreciate your efforts there in Bayelsa State, trying to keep us updated on the happenings as the people of Bayelsa vote today and has been extended till tomorrow. In part 2, after the break, analysts and political observers speak about their findings in Kogi State and indeed Bayelsa. Do join us again.